Penang, located on the northwestern corner of Malaysia, is a vibrant destination known for delicious food, beautiful nature, and diverse cultural influences. There's so much to discover in Penang, from the charming streets of Old Town and the white sand beaches of Batu Ferringhi to the magnificent Kek Lok Si Temple. Follow me as I take a solo trip to explore this amazing place and show you where to go, what to see, and what to eat in this incredible city. The capital of Penang is Georgetown, which is where the majority of the visitors choose to spend a lot of their time. I chose to stay within walking distance of central Georgetown, which I would also recommend. And as soon as I arrived in Penang, I set down my bags and went out to explore. The streets of Old Town have such a laid-back and peaceful vibe, and leisurely walking the narrow alleyways is the best way to get acquainted with the city. The first thing you'll notice in Georgetown is the architecture. The city is filled with pre-World War II colonial shophouses, along with a myriad of other historic buildings that still exude their original charm. Throughout the streets, you will also find temples of different styles and religions, as well as a seemingly endless number of cafes and food spots. I will detail the best areas for street food later in the video, but in general, the food scene in Penang is famous and you can find delicious options around every turn. One of the other most notable attractions of Georgetown is the street art sprinkled throughout the city center. You can spend hours just searching for and admiring the different art pieces and unique styles of the murals. A lot of them actually incorporating real-life items, making for popular photo spots. Thanks to social media, you may even find there's a queue for a few of the most well-known artworks. Near the north shore of Georgetown is the City Hall building and the esplanade area, where you can walk along the seaside and catch a much-needed breeze during the extremely hot weather in Georgetown. Nearby this area is also the iconic Blue Mansion, formerly owned by the man dubbed as the Rockefeller of the East, businessman, industrialist, and tycoon Chong Fat-zi. I bought tickets at the front office and went inside to take in the historical architecture and learn a bit about the history. A number of famous movies were actually filmed at this mansion, including the box office hit Crazy Rich Asians. The mansion is worth checking out and takes less than a half an hour to walk through. Just outside the old streets of Georgetown is another must-see destination. The Clan Jetties of Penang are multiple floating villages that sit on stilts above the water. In the 19th century, many Chinese immigrants came south to Malaysia. To adapt and give themselves a better chance to thrive, they established clans and lived together near the sea, which provided both work and food for these settlers during those early years. There are 6 of these villages that still represent the old traditions and culture. The Chu Jetty, which is one of the largest and most popular, has been labeled a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. Exploring these historical sea villages is like a blast from the past, and you can picture what it would have been like living here so many years ago. The Clan Jetties are a perfect place to catch a sunset, and you'll often see people gathering at the jetty during the golden hour. Right across from the Chu Jetty is the Hean Boo Thean Temple that is an amazing sight to see when it's lit up at night. On the second night of my trip and the 9th day of the Chinese New Year, the Chu Jetty hosted an annual event that they have been putting on for 117 years to celebrate the Jade Emperor's birthday. The jetty was covered in lights and decorations for the event. There are over 70 families living around the jetty area, and all of them brought offerings in front of the temple at the entrance of the Chu Jetty. I'm extremely grateful and feel lucky to have been in Penang to experience this special event. Later in the night, thousands of people crowded the street to enjoy performances, food, and hours of fireworks. The celebration continued deep into the night. I went to sleep around 3 a.m. and still heard the sound of fireworks in the distance. Penang Island is full of wonderful temples, but none compare to the stunning Kek Lok Si, the largest Buddhist temple in Malaysia. The temple is free to enter, and even if you're only staying in Penang for just a few days, it's an absolute must visit during your trip. Kek Lok Si is located about 30 minutes taxi ride from central Georgetown and sits beautifully on the hillside over the town of Air Itam. The vast complex has 3 main levels full of intricate carvings, murals, and sculptures. You can take a chairlift to get from the bottom level to the second hall of the temple, or you can go on foot. I decided to take the pedestrian route and start at the Liberation Pond, which is filled with what seems like 1,000 turtles. There's a few souvenir shops around here, and you can chill by the pond and also buy some food to feed the little green friends. After a short visit at the pond, I walk up a few sets of stairs to the main hall of the temple, which has a huge shrine with an open space for people to pray in front of 3 majestic bodhisattvas. The ceiling is beautifully decorated, and the hall is filled with candles, lanterns, and offering ribbons. The colored ribbons represent different categories, such as bodily health, success in business, or relationships. I made a donation and added my ribbons to the tree in the temple. Then I made my way back outside. One of the main draws of the complex is the 7-story white pagoda of 10,000 Buddhas, which you can climb to the top in just a few minutes. This happened to be closed off when I was visiting, so I continued straight from the main hall to the Buddha Pavilion, which is an oval door with manicured gardens inside. Here you'll find a terrace overlooking Air Itam and Georgetown way in the distance. Once I walk through the pavilion, there's a huge gift shop filled to the brim with religious items, artwork, souvenirs, and even drinks and snacks if you need a break. Once through the gift shop is the train station, where you can pay a small price of 3 Malaysian ringgit for a single trip to the top, or you can walk your way up. I wanted to experience the train, so I waited in a short queue and we packed onto the train car. In general, the temple wasn't crowded when I visited during the day, but the train ride itself was pretty congested, as they try to get as many people as possible onto the train car. Anyway, it's only a few minute ride to the top, which houses the most impressive part of the temple, the Kuan Yin statue, a 36.5 meter bronze goddess. The statue is even more magnificent up close, and I took a few minutes just standing in awe at its feet. Kuan Yin is housed within a Chinese-style roof with 16 pillars around it. At the base of the temple, I noticed groups of people walking around putting coin offerings inside metal money pots, which I was told was for good luck and fortune. Kek Lok Si is free of charge, and all donations go to maintenance and upkeep of the temple. So I did make a donation, including 11 Malaysian ringgit, to receive 110 10-cent coins to drop into each one of the 108 money pots surrounding the Kuan Yin statue. I walked around carefully dropping my coins in the buckets and hoping for good luck. Surrounding the Kuan Yin statue are ornate gardens and a few other statues and shrines. While talking to some of the staff, I was informed that during the Chinese New Year period, for 30 days, Kek Lok Si is open late into the evening and decorated with thousands of lights. The staff recommended that it's something I shouldn't miss, so I decided to come back to the temple the next night after dark, and I'm super happy that I did. The temple was breathtaking at night, and the lights were just incredible. I was super eager to fly my drone and get some aerial shots, but there was heavy rain when I arrived. But as soon as the rain stopped, I took to the skies to get a bird's eye view of this once-a-year spectacle. If you are in Penang during the Chinese New Year period, which typically falls from end of January to mid-February, it would be a shame to not catch the lights at Kek Lok Si Temple. This was the highlight of my entire Penang trip. Although Penang is typically known for its food and culture, it does have its fair share of nature too. Nearby Kek Lok Si is Penang Hill, also known as Bukit Bandara in Malay. It's actually a group of hills with the highest standing at 833 meters or 2.7 thousand feet above sea level. There's a lot to explore at the top of Penang Hill that I will detail for you, but first let's start with how to get to the top. The drop-off point when arriving by taxi is the railway station at Bukit Bandara. The funicular railway system is the only one of its kind and over the years has transported millions of visitors to the peak of the hill. At this stage, you can choose to buy a ticket for the railway, or if you're feeling more adventurous, you can climb Penang Hill on foot, taking one of the many hiking trails. I chose to take the Heritage Trail, which is about 3.25 km of steep incline to the top of the hill. I would caution that if you decide to climb the hill on foot, it's a challenging workout as the entire journey is uphill, and do not forget to take water. Climbing Penang Hill right now. It's a lot of steps. It takes about an hour and a half.
fairly tough, good workout. Kind of just straight steps all the way up. If you're feeling a bit adventurous and don't want to take the train the easy way, you can get some exercise on Penang Hill.
The hike to the top is scenic and generally quiet, besides some local dogs barking while I walk by. There also is a good chance that you can catch a glimpse of some wildlife too. I saw a group of dusky leaf monkeys and this huge millipede during my trek. Once at the top of Penang Hill, there are multiple sections, each with different offerings and views. The middle section has a 3-story food center, including the Cliff Cafe on the middle floor, which has beautiful views, especially in the evening. The top floor is a food center, and the bottom floor has souvenirs and drinks. I stopped here on the bottom floor to refuel after my grueling hike. Farther past this section is the Upper Hill Station, where the train arrives. Near this side is also a series of decks and viewpoints to get some 360-degree views. Along the top of the hill are some food and snack vendors. I stopped for an order of pani puri, an Indian street food that is one of my all-time favorite snacks. Walking back to the other end of the peak is the Penang Hill Mosque, which was built for Muslims working and living on Penang Hill. Just next to the mosque is one of the oldest Hindu temples in Penang, which was built during the 1800s. Further past the temple is the newest nature attraction on Penang Hill called the Habitat. This biosphere sits among the rainforest that is known to be over 130 million years old. I bought a standard pass for 60 ringgit and started my exploration. The park trail is about 1.6 km with a cool canopy walk that sits above the forest tree line. The signature attraction of the park is the Curtis Crest Treetop Walk, the highest accessible viewing platform on Penang Island. It consists of a semicircular loop that is 820 meters high, making you feel like you're in the clouds. Once you finish your visit at the Habitat, there's a shuttle that will take you back to the train station. For the way down Penang Hill, I again opted for the hiking route, and I actually decided to run down the hill, as I have a tight itinerary and still have more things to show you in Penang. Away from the greenery of Penang Hill is the white sand beaches of Batu Ferringhi. This stretch of beach sits on the northern tip of Penang Island and is a hotspot for both tourists and locals.
So this is Batu Ferringhi, which is the main tourist beach on Penang Island. So this is where most of the people go. They want to have a beach day, chill. A lot of resorts and hotels are located in this area as well.
This is a place for relaxing, where you can go horseback riding or choose from a bunch of sea sport options, like jet skis or parasailing. When you're hungry, there are cafes and restaurants right on the beach, including the first beachfront Starbucks that I've ever been to. You can choose from a more local cafe serving Malaysian cuisine like Santai Cafe, or the bustling Bora Bora Beach Bar that is very popular with tourists in the evening. Either way, Batu Ferringhi is a great place to get away from the city for a day, just a few hours, or an evening. On the south side of Penang Island, near the airport, is one of the most unusual temples I have ever seen. I heard about the Snake Temple from a friend and had to check it out. On the outside, you would think that it's just an ordinary temple, but once you step inside, you can see why people come from all across the island to visit. It's filled with tons of live, venomous pit vipers. The Snake Temple, also known as Hak Hin Kiong, was built in the mid-19th century to honor a Buddhist monk born during China's Song dynasty. Legend has it that this monk would offer shelter to the wild snakes, and that once this temple was built in his honor, wild snakes started showing up on their own. There is multiple buildings in the temple complex, and the first one houses several different kinds of snakes, and if you dare, you can hold one of them or take a picture with them. And then in the back of the temple is a breeding habitat with trees that are full of snakes, and once you start looking closely, you can spot the vipers in the trees. The staff says that most of the snakes have had their venom removed, but I doubt anyone should try and test that theory. A beautiful shrine area sits on the other end of the complex, and I lit a candle and made a donation to the temple fund. On either side of the altar are pedestals filled with resting snakes. Despite having snakes all around the temple, it still had a serene and peaceful vibe, and I enjoyed my visit here. It doesn't take too long to see the entire temple, and since it's near the airport, it would make sense to stop here on your trip either to or from the Penang airport. Or, if you really don't like snakes, you can choose not to stop here at all. Penang is known as Malaysia's food capital, and its vibrant food scene stretches to every corner of the state. I'm sure Penang has its fair share of nice restaurants and fine dining, but I was on the lookout for local street food to try while on the go, and the best place to get cheap, quick, local meals is one of the many hawkers churning out non-stop delicious eats across the island. Right outside where I stayed was New Lane Hawker, a 250-meter stretch of road that's quiet during the day, but around 5 p.m. over 20 mobile hawker stalls pop up and start to operate, making for some amazing sights and smells. The best and most famous food stalls usually have long queues lining up in front of them, and this particular stall was drawing a crowd for one of Penang's top dishes, char kway teow, which consists of flat rice noodles and a mix of a bunch of other ingredients like chives, eggs, and sprouts. I had at least one dish of char kway teow per day during my trip. The second must-try dish is Penang laksa, which consists of rice noodles and a wide range of other ingredients and garnishes. And the asam or sour laksa of Penang uses soup made with mackerel fish and tamarind, which is the reason for the sour taste. There are so many options for laksa in Penang. You have individual shops and street stalls or the hawker centers where you can pick and choose from a wide array of vendors. I had multiple bowls of laksa during my trip, and I had a great bowl of laksa at the hawkers near Kimberley Street in Georgetown, and also had some char kway teow, as well as rojak, which is a salad of veggies and fruits in a sweet and sour sauce, and satay, which is skewered barbecue meat on a stick with peanut sauce for dipping. Another popular food hotspot is the Gurney Drive Hawker Center, which offers a variety of signature dishes right near the seafront. When I visited, a lot of the stalls were closed for Chinese New Year, but I managed to have a great oyster omelet, some mee goreng, which is fried noodles, and another big order of satay to finish it off. Please don't leave Penang without visiting one of these hawker centers for a cheap and delicious feast. So that brings me to the end of this video. I really hope you got some benefit from it and it helps you get an idea of what Penang has to offer. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I also want to thank everyone I met in Penang that made my trip such a wonderful experience. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the comments and I'll get back to you. I wish you the best wherever you are in the world and happy travels. Peace.